And welcome to the first Skooliepalooza podcast. Our guest today is Amelia Dahl. How you doing, Amelia?
I'm doing super good, thank you.
Awesome. So let's start off. You and I met at Skooliepalooza Moab, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And while you were there, what did you do for the community?
So for the community, while I was in Moab, I decided to bring all of my sound gear and my guitar, and I played a really beautiful set of music for everyone. I believe that was Sunday. And before
Yes.
then, I got to generally meet people and vibe out and just kind of share story with people, which was great.
Well, there's two things here. One, you had quite the adventure getting to Moab, if I recall.
Oh, yeah. I really did.
Were you coming down out of Denver, or because you blew out your brakes, right?
I did. So I was in Colorado and in a place called Wolf Creek Pass.
Yep.
It was a speed limit of 35, very steep downhill grade. And me and my sweet bus, we were going about 55, desperately trying to slow down. And I didn't quite understand my gears or how that worked quite yet. This taught me. Um,
Yes.
but while I was going about 50, I realized, oh, I should be in a lower gear. That'll help me go slower. So I go into third gear at 55. Totally over revved my engine, realized that was the wrong choice, went back down into the drive. And then once that hairpin curve happened, I had to slam on my brakes as much as I possibly could. Otherwise, I would have gone off a cliff. So thank goodness I did that. And yeah, the brakes started smoking. It smelled really bad. And the crazy part is that there was no shoulder. The whole time I was going down this mountain, I couldn't have stopped if I wanted to. And then right when my brakes were smoking and I was like, oh, I'm going to die, there was this tiny little bit of shoulder that I was able to pull off on. So thank goodness for that. And thank goodness for the Skooliepalooza thread, because there was a messaging thread that we had going on WhatsApp, and I had like one bar, just barely one bar. And I was freaking out. And I was able to message the group. People calmed me down, which was amazing. And one of the attendees of Skooliepalooza was coming through Pagosa Springs the next day. So he was like, just hang tight and I'll come in and take a look. He's not a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic, but we both looked at it and we figured it was okay to not take a $500 tow all the way down to the mechanic, which was only 16 minutes, but it would have been $500.
Right.
And I was absolutely terrified to do this, but he drove behind me. His name's Tyler. And he drove behind me, and we were going, at this point, we went down the mountain. So it's a 65 speed limit, and I was going about 10 miles an hour for like a good 40 minutes. By
That's all
names and
right.
mechanics.
Being safe is better than being dead, right? Couple notes on
100%.
the yeah, couple notes on the $500 tow. Get CoachNet.
CoachNet?
CoachNet. It's AAA for buses. They accept schoolies. And even, as you know, we drive a truck base, a 6-window truck base, and we got stuck twice last year. One where we broke down, and one where I just ended up in some mud. And they came out, got us all hooked up, took care of us right away. CoachNet is the way to go.
That's great.
Now, at Skooliepalooza, though, we also had another adventure because our equipment didn't match your equipment, right?
Yeah. So there was a confusion of how we were going to get this sound to happen. So there's an amazing man, William, with his brilliant mind, who had some different, I guess, cannibalized materials of sound system, and he was able to put them together. However, he was going on an adventure one of the days that we were about to set up for the sound. So then Chris, who's another incredible bus lifer, and he drives the real bus, the long big bus.
Yes, he's got a big
He was
40
able
footer.
to solder the pieces together to get an adapter so that we could actually plug in, which was great for me because that was my first time playing in the desert. And you always want to be mic'd. If there's wind and anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, mic is good.
Well, I think William is the one with Brutus Minimus, the little dog,
Yes.
the only Chihuahua I've ever met that's not a bit psycho.
Right? He was
Yeah,
the
he
most
was
calm dog. Loved that.
very, very cool. All right, so let's we met in Skooliepalooza, but let's talk about nomad life a bit here. What I mean, you're a musician. You're from Tennessee. Is that correct? No, you're
I'm
from.
actually from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, okay, that's kind
Hmm.
of the South, kind of. What got you into nomad life? Well, it's kind of the South, right?
So
It's in the middle.
it's next to
It's
New
not
York, my
Alabama
friend.
South. Is
Okay,
Maryland?
so what
I
got
need to
me
look at a
into
map real
bus
quick.
life? I I grew up. My mom was not well off, and we grew up in a strange situation. I was on the road a lot as a child. We were on road trips. They were not road trips. We just lived in the car. And me and my two other sisters made the best of it, and I loved it the whole time. I was young enough to understand we were just traveling. And there was something, I think, deeply ancestral in that I recognized, like, I want to keep doing this. And so by the time I was in middle school, I started researching tiny houses. And I was convinced I was going to build a tiny house for myself. I literally had blueprints like piled up. But then I started to really think about, like, where do I want to go? Where do I want the house? Because Baltimore, Maryland is a snowy place and I don't do snow. So I started to realize, like, it wasn't going to be Baltimore. Then I started doing more research on all these other places, and I couldn't decide. And that was around the time that I was moving into high school, and I discovered my first bus lifing, van lifing YouTube account. And that was it for me. I was
Oh,
like, this is what I want to do. I want to travel, and I don't have to decide where to set myself. So I went to Portland, Oregon in 2016, and I went to it's the Tiny House Hotel, something like that. And it's basically like a bunch of caravan touring hotel spots that you can rent a night in. And I went there and just interviewed like as many people as I could find about life on the road, what it's like. And I basically just set myself up for it. For the next 10 years, that was just a pipe dream. Like, it was a huge, huge dream of mine, but I had no idea that it would happen. And then about 4 years ago, I got engaged to a musician who's wonderful. And we really wanted to go on tour with the music. So together, we bought a school bus, a small 5-window schoolie. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There's not a day that goes by that I don't miss this bus. But he wasn't right for me, and the bus wasn't right for me. So when I came back to Asheville, North Carolina, after living in this school bus, I couldn't bring myself to rent again. I had given up my lease to my best friend. She was living in my old house, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to buy a van. So I came back to Asheville, North Carolina with negative $300 in my bank account because there was some bank mishaps that were happening during that time. And I sold all of my belongings, as many as I could, and a bunch of art because I'm also a full-time artist. And in 7 days, I raised $2,300 and I bought my first van. Totally under the table. It was awesome.
so this isn't the van you're in now, though.
Nope. So I'm in my
No.
bus now, which I love and I'm so, so grateful for. The van was a 89 Ford Econoline conversion with a high top.
Oh my. Okay.
89.
That's so. How
Can
long
you
did
believe
that
that?
last you?
Yeah, so that was 3 years in that van, but it was constantly breaking down. So basically, I would go out like a state away. It'd break down. I'd come back to Asheville with my tail between my legs, and I'd spend all this money that I didn't have, just to do it all over again. And for years, people were like, Amelia, you need to get a new van. That one is not working. And I was trying to describe to them the socioeconomical reasons why I, an impoverished person, cannot just go buy a van like the flick of my wrist, right? But then sometime, not this past August, but last August, I realized oh my God, I can just buy a new van. Like, I'm a creatrix. I'm a manifester. I'm just going to start manifesting.
Hold on. Creatrix? What is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
creatrix?
So a creatrix, a creator of the matrix, right? This matrix of information that we're constantly gathering in. When you
Sure.
know that you create your own reality and that you can collaborate with other creators, then you become a creatrix because you're not living by the laws of the matrix world. You're creating your own. That's a creatrix.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. Thank you.
So, yeah, talk to us, just for the engine geeks. What is the bus that you have now?
Sure. It's a Duramax diesel engine and it's a micro Bluebird bus. I
Okay.
have a Jason transmission and it's a strong engine. It's a 2007 engine, but she's good. I did have to rebuild my transmission very recently, which sucked.
Five or six window?
It's a 5 window
Five
with
window.
a
Okay, yeah.
handicap door on the back, which is everything.
Yeah, that's what we started in was a five window with the 7.3, and now our truck
Hmm.
base is also the 7.3, but it's a six window, and
Right.
we have not only the rear door but the handicap door too, so we can open those up and airflow and all that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's so
All right,
good.
so what do you think? You're a musician and you decided to use your nomad life to tour essentially, right? And as I recall, not that Moab was huge. There was only like 80 people or something like that, but that was your largest first live audience, right?
No, not my
No, okay,
first.
good.
Just the first large audience that I've had in quite some time. The
Okay,
past couple of months in Asheville, it's very competitive in Asheville. Um, Not to get booked. Getting booked is no problem. It's just that there are like 70 different events happening in one night in Asheville.
right.
So, even my closest fans and deepest friends, they still have a lot of things to decide from. And I was starting to get a little bit tired of playing for like two or three people. Even like 10 or 12 people. It's like
Oh,
I will
sure.
always play for the people that are around, always. And Skooliepalooza was important to me and powerful and impactful because not only was it a large group of people, but it was a large group of people that were not at a bar drinking or at some party with their attention half on me. They were intentionally listening to the music with each other. And that as a musician, that's all you can ever ask for is to curate community in that way.
No, I mean, as you know, we recorded that, and for those who are wondering what it went like, it's on our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Skooliepalooza, and it was beautiful. I mean, you're very
Thank
talented. We of course have been watching you since you left, and it looks like, I mean, you're in Flagstaff, for example, what, next week?
Yes, in just a couple days, actually. I'll leave tomorrow morning for Flagstaff. And
Without, go ahead.
I think I'm 4 hours away. I'm in what's called Uzona. It's not Utah and it's not Arizona. They want to be a whole different state.
Yeah, I've actually never heard that term. Is it up by Page or something like that?
It's Cane Beds. I think it's Cane
Cane
Beds,
beds.
Arizona. But they are convinced that they're also Utah. Most of the people here are on Utah time. So when I got here, I had no idea what time it was. My phone kept switching. It was crazy.
Fair enough. All right, so uh, we know that you made it to the West and you're now touring, and that seems to be going relatively successfully.
Yes.
Your exposure. I know that you spent some time with, was it Van Life Pride? Is that correct? You went on some
Yeah, there
hikes or
were
something
some
like that. Yeah.
sweeties. Yeah, so many, not all of the people who are associated with Van Life Pride, but there was a good core group of people. I think it was like 4 or 5 people. And we got to go into Zion. We got to go into some really amazing hikes outside of Zion. And we're traveling through the land I'm on right now with this cute nook, which is protecting us from the wind because it's very windy out there. This is a place called Land Beyond Zion, and it's run by an incredible woman named Shanti, who's a full-time single mom, making this property happen. And she's very, very excited about nomads, and also has an openness to this being a queer space, a queer safe space. So the
Hmm.
Van Life Pride people, they got a flyer and they're like, we're going here. And I was going to spend the night in a Walmart parking lot, honestly. After Van Fest, I was looking to integrate the festival, and I was about to leave, and I got this flyer, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, okay, I'm going. And it's the best decision I've made, because the woman who runs this place, she has permits that are like near impossible to get to certain hikes. So I've gotten to see things that like most people don't see when they come to Zion. So it's been really cool.
Well, that's fantastic. Make sure you do me a favor and drop us in a DM the place where you're at, 'cause we'd love to give her some promotion and help her out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What is your biggest challenge as a nomad?
Hmm. This is a really good question, because I feel like this trip has brought up a lot of challenges that are different than I've ever experienced. Being more based in a city and living in a bus, I thought I had a lot of challenges, but on the road, it turns out that I think the biggest one is uncertainty. It's like I'm not a full-time mechanic. I'm learning things as I go, but I don't know how to diagnose things or how to really delve into the mechanics of something. So it's the uncertainty of, if I hear a strange noise, I don't know what that is. And I guess with that, with the uncertainty, there's a lot of trust involved. So a challenge for me has been, how much do I trust myself? And even if my bus is breaking down on the side of a road, do I trust myself that I can get through it? There have been a couple moments where I've panicked because of mechanical issues or even just financial issues, and it always comes down to, okay, but do you trust yourself? And more, I'm leaning towards yes, but there's that uncertainty bit that is still a little
Hmm.
daunting. It's daunting because I'm
Well,
also a solo traveler right now. So I think if I was with somebody else, it'd be less scary. Because also, I've been caravanning quite a bit the past couple weeks, and that feels great. But I'll tell you what, the second that those Van Life Pride people left, I felt it again. I was like, oh, I'm alone now. Okay.
yeah, no, I have no doubt. And again, I brought it up in the beginning. I'll bring it up again. CoachNet is a fantastic safety net, right? Because they'll tell you right to the mechanic. They'll even
That's great.
find
I
you.
wrote it
They'll
down.
even, yeah, they'll even find you a mechanic, right? So you don't even have to worry about that. You
Wow.
say, I'm stuck on
That's
the side of
great.
the road. She's not running. She's dropping coolant, whatever. Help. And they're like, we got you. And they'll make sure you're taken care of. And it's
That's
not that
excellent.
expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not free, of course, but I
Yeah.
mean, in comparison to a $500 tow or
Yeah.
even $1,000 tow,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, that's
it,
what it usually
it
is.
yeah, it really, it fixes itself pretty quick. Um, so actually, that brings up an interesting thing. As you know, I don't travel alone, but I also, even if I did, I don't know that I would have the same concerns. Are there particular concerns that you run into being a solo lady nomad?
I think yes, but I don't know if necessarily like my womanly or feminine presentation really is the core root of why I face challenges. I think a lot of them actually come down to being on the spectrum or involved in the non-able bodied family of life. So I experience chronic pain, and to be a solo traveler, um, going through pain, I didn't really realize until I got all the way out here that it hurts to drive long periods of time.
Yes, it
And
does.
so that's a huge concern of mine. just being solo on the road, because there's only so much that I can actually drive, and then I have to stop because my body will fail me. So that is a little bit concerning. And I will say, having a feminine presentation, what I meet more than anything, more than suspicious people, is just people who are concerned that I'm alone on the road, afraid for me, or think that I'm crazy, right? And that comes down to the patriarchy. It really comes down to certain people being more able to do things, or it makes more sense for them to do things versus other. And that's been a hardship of mine to hold. I've had a lot of older gentlemen who look at me when I get out of the bus, and they just look at me and they say, "You really drive that thing?" And it's funny, it's humorous, but at the same time, it's like, we would never say that to a masculine presenting person, even if they're a woman, right? We wouldn't say that to them. A masculine presenting person has this like this air of like confidence that other
Sure.
people perceive within them. And so that has been a little bit of a challenge, but I love breaking barriers. I love to question the narratives of everyday life. So I'm honestly for it. When people question me, or when I get that question of, do you feel safe on the road? I like to tell people that the only reason I ever don't feel safe is for those questions. It's the fact that we even have to ask those questions. And I think it's important to talk about, for sure, because there is a lot of violence out there and a lot of
Sure.
hatred towards women presenting people. But that's also why I think it's so important for all these femme solo travelers to get in their rigs and just go, because we're starting a new narrative now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, first, before I comment on that, you have to admit we are kind of crazy. We could
A little bit.
easily, yeah, we
I
could have an
shit in a
apartment.
bucket. Okay.
I believe that bucket is actually because of us.
It is. I had to get it because of
It's,
Skooliepalooza.
yes.
Before that, I refused. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. Here we are.
That's yeah, and it's funny. Society as a whole, at least Western world society, we are so used to flushing toilets, and if you're in Europe, you're used to bidets, and
Isn't
just
it crazy?
modern.
We're like the only species that don't live in the water full time, but we shit in water. I think that's the craziest thing. No other animal species goes and finds a pool of water and is like, I'm going to poop in this. But we do.
Yeah, no. All the other animals are like, this is what we drink, so we're not going to poop in it.
So sad. But in a lot of ways, JD, I think that means that maybe the van lifers, the bus lifers, the nomads, we're actually the ones who are speeding up evolution, perhaps, because, clean water is an important thing, and we need more of that in this world.
Well, clean water, I mean, is the thing. If you look at it from
It's the
a
only.
survival perspective, yeah, no water, everything dies.
Yeah.
We can have global warming, we can have bad air,
Hmm.
all this stuff, but if
We
we
can
do
have
not have clean water,
microplastics going past the
yeah,
blood-brain barrier.
exactly. But no water, you're dead.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, one of the things on nomads, and in my day job, I'm in tech, so I'm
Hmm.
dealing with a lot of people that are like, "You're doing what?" And it's particularly fun when I'll take a conference call and I'm at the South Rim of the Grand Canyon or something like that, and I'll show them where I'm at, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that cities are poison. I mean, they literally are. Every step you take, you're surrounded, and you can see this, like, they've done studies around highways,
Hmm.
and when you live near a highway, Interstate 5 or whatever, if you are more likely to get cancer by a significant percentage.
It doesn't surprise
Um,
me, but it still breaks my heart.
yeah, and the thing is that we've created this society where we have this idea that everything that is fake is actually real. So think about New York. There is nothing, and I've been to New York. I've been to New York so many times I don't even consider myself a tourist.
Yeah, you're a New
Okay,
Yorker. Seasonal
yeah,
New Yorker.
I know how to walk. I know where the good diners, where the good bars. The whole bit when I'm in New York. I mean, the whole perception changes. But the reality is that it's all fake. It is all artificial material that we as a culture or a race, the human race, have built up to provide some level of whether it be security or affluence or education or whatever it is that we're seeking. And I know people in New York that, they'll follow me on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'll post some picture. And the responses I get are things like, I didn't even know that place was real. I'm like, this place is more real than where you're at,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I mean, where you're at, you're not actually that far from me. We're in Flagstaff now, actually, just out of Flagstaff. We're
Oh,
in Williams.
you should come see my show
Um,
in a couple days.
we actually are considering it, but we got some unfortunate news. I don't know if you saw, but we have Frenchies, and
Mm-hmm.
one of our Frenchies has to have a toe removed. Um,
No. A
yeah,
toe?
a toe, yeah, on his back right paw. We found that out
No.
literally, like the reason I was late was because we had just rolled in. I was trying to get Starlink running for this podcast and the whole bit. And so
That's
we
scary.
are talking about it. Yeah, I mean he's just a little guy, right? I mean he's
He's
not
a
a
little guy. He
he's
doesn't
20
deserve
pounds.
all that.
No, he does not. And okay,
Man.
um, so with this, what is the,
I know it's
what
him. It's emotional.
he's my little man. Okay, it's Oscar bin. Yeah, he's my little guy. He's Oscar bin Laden. Um, but what is the most fulfilling part of this for you? What? I mean, obviously, you're
Hmm.
you're you're not really saving money. We're not saving money by being nomads. I mean, between
No.
fuel, mechanics. Well, you're in a van base, which means you're going to blow through tires faster. I mean, so what's? It's not about being. What's the word?
Frugal?
Frugal, yes. It's not about being
Yeah,
frugal.
not that.
It's more about freedom. But what is the most fulfilling part for you?
I think the most fulfilling part for me is knowing that the earth is my home. Like, we get this question so much as nomads: where's your home base? Or do you have a home base? And my answer is literally the ground I'm standing on. That feels really righteous to me, because I feel like we only get one life in this body, at least, to live on
Hmm.
this earth. And I've always been the person that I want to see as much as I can of this earth because it's mine, right? It's just as much
Right.
as mine as it is yours. And to be able to say that my home is this plot of land for however long I'm on that plot of land, that it feels like taking back a part of my sovereignty. I think there's a lot of lies in our society about land ownership and just paying to live. Now, obviously, I'm spending quite a bit of money in
Hmm.
this lifestyle, just like I would in any other lifestyle, right? But the amount that I'm getting a return is so much bigger than if I was in one state, in one city, in one little town. I've lived that life many times before, and I just have to say that, like, being open and being everywhere, that's what I want, and that's my win.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up about property ownership, and of course, I mean, we're three-quarter time. We do have a home
Mhm.
base in Washington, and we do have 10 acres up there.
Which I would love to come and
It's
see, by the way.
you are more than welcome. You just don't want to go right now. It's nasty and ugly and dark. But we are. You're anytime. You're welcome. We've hosted people in the past, and it's a great place to be because it's Bellingham. It's beautiful. It's mild even in August, right? Even in August, except for the very rare heat wave, you're maxing out at like 85, right?
Well, I
So
think you just touched on an important point too, JD. Is that when we own land, we share it. And we have the ability to bring people into that. And like that
mhm.
can be such a gift when we work with
Well,
the earth in that way.
yeah, and where I was going with that is, as without getting into politics, I do lean libertarian,
Right.
which I think a lot of nomads actually do. But one of the parts where I don't lean libertarian is I'm a huge proponent of public land. I think that we should be funding it. I think I'm happy that my tax dollars go to it. I want the government to look at land. Well, a good example is Texas. Texas has very little public land. I want the
Really?
government, yeah,
It's huge.
it is huge, but it's also by the nature of how Texas came about, right? Remember, it used to be it's kind of its own country, and then it became a state, but it's its own
Yeah.
republic, and it's. But the thing is I think that the government should actively seek land that is available for sale. I do not believe in eminent domain. I actually think that's wrong. But if it's available for sale, what like there's an example here in Arizona. We were looking at a piece. It's 1,000 acres, and they want
Hmm.
$1 million for it. And I can't anywhere near afford that.
Wow.
But to me, the government should just like swoop that up because $1 million
Yeah.
is nothing when it comes to the
It's
actual
chump
government
change.
budget.
Yeah.
It's not even a line item, right? It's like, oh, we just got another 1,000 acres. How much did it cost? It doesn't matter. It was
Yeah.
nothing, you know. But one of the things that Amanda, my wife, says, she actually said this to me the other day, which really struck me, is she said that something to the effect of the farther our feet get away from the earth, the worse we feel. So if you think of using New York as an example, there's probably 3 feet of gravel, cobblestone, concrete, and then asphalt on top of that when you're
Yep.
walking through Manhattan before you actually get to Earth.
Hmm.
So the farther we get from Earth, and the less we are feeling grounded with what is us. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, that's another huge benefit. It's not just that I live on the earth and the earth is my home. The benefit is that I actually get to touch the earth and like spend as much possible time as I can in nature with my feet, like no shoes, no socks, just like on the ground. That's true medicine to me. And I think, the indigenous people knew that. There's a reason that moccasins are made of leather because it's a conductive material. It's not like the rubbers that we have, which really do disrupt our electrical circuits. The more research I've done in holistic healing and even just spiritual awareness of frequency, right? You could talk about it in terms of quantum physics, but really the spiritual awareness of frequency tells me every time I learn about it, touch the earth, drink the right water, and have a relationship to the flora and the fauna because they're going to teach you how to have a relationship to humans, right? Like I watch animals and how they work in tribes, how they work in teams, and I look at humans and I'm like, God, we're missing out. We're really missing out. Like ants. Ants, for example, they would be terrifying if they were bigger, because they're the strongest creatures and they
Yep.
work so well as a team. I really think that like this lifestyle, nomadic living, has brought me closer to the truth of what it is to not be a human, but an earthling. We're earthlings. The antelope, the ants, the geese, the deer, we're all the same creature of the earth. And I think the closer that you can get to the earth, the better you're going to feel. 100%.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. Are you a meat eater?
I am now. It took me 8 years of very strict veganism, which I do stand behind a lot of things in the vegan movement. But at this point, I do eat meat. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think whole foods and plant-based eating is an incredible way to go. And I do think that Americans eat quite a bit more meat than is necessary. If you look at most of the other cultures in the world, especially the blue zones, the places where people are really growing to like 100 years old, 113 years
Mhm.
old, all of those blue zones, they eat like a teensy portion of meat and then the rest whole foods. So I do eat meat now, but I'm still cultivating my relationship to it. And I think the biggest reason that I eat meat now is because I've finally understood the life cycle of taking a life and then putting that inside of me and understanding that that is the cycle of life. Like, I am just as much of an animal as a cheetah, right? And cheetahs don't eat kale. They just don't.
No, they do not.
No, and there's always a
What's this
balance.
leafy crap? I want antelope.
Exactly.
No, and that's actually, we buy, we're actually out now, but generally speaking, we buy our own pig, we buy our own cow, and
Wow.
we buy them from ranches we know, so that we
That's
know that
cool.
up to the cows and the pigs live literally their best life right up to the moment where they become part of our resources, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. And where this actually, I was going with this, and the reason I asked about the meat was, and you said it yourself, Whole Foods. And I'm not talking about the store.
No,
I'm talking about
we ain't
eating.
talking about Jeff.
No, we're not talking about Jeff and his roids. Um, we're talking about Whole Foods. And what are Whole Foods? Well, here's the deal. If you're in a grocery store and you're walking down an aisle, chances are you're surrounded by not food, right?
Again, it's the same thing with cities. It's all lies.
Yes, it's all lies. To get to actual food, you have to stay on the outskirts of the store, right? Because that's where they'll have their
Mhm.
fresh produce, their fresh fruits, and then your cheeses, and then they'll have dairy, and then they'll have their beef and pork and fish. But even with that, even the best beef that you can buy at, say, a Kroger, and which is,
Mhm.
like prime meat, it's nowhere near. I mean, if you take from the cow that we got off grass fed, lived its best life, you can see the difference in the meat. You don't even have to
Wow.
taste it, you can just see it. The meat that you get from a homestead cow is a deep, deep red. It's properly marbled. It looks healthy. It's not pink, right? It's not like this almost turkey like looking beef, right? It's just,
I have a question.
sure.
Have you seen, there's a video going around the internet. I just saw it the other day, but it's the difference between a vegan's placenta and a meat eater's placenta. So the placenta from a
No.
woman, the
Well, I
difference,
assumed.
JD, seriously, the difference is insane. It's exactly what you're talking about. And the placenta is what nourishes the child, right? When you're in
Right.
vitro, when you're in utero. So literally the thing that gives us our nourishment, the meat eater, totally different than the vegan's placenta. The
Oh yeah.
vegan placenta was pink. Like you're saying, it was pink, but not only that, it was hard and like rubbery. The other one, the meat eater's placenta, it's basically black because it's full of blood, life-giving blood, and it's soft. It's like gushy, right? Now, not to get too gross on you, and I know I probably already have for you, but the thing is that we don't see things like that, right? Like when I went vegan, I was 320 pounds.
You're
Yeah,
just a
I
little thing.
let that set in. Yeah, I'm tiny, right? And I got told my whole life that I was big boned. That was a lie. A lie to try and make me feel better. It didn't. But either way, I was extremely obese and I lost all of this weight in a very, very short time, which for me, growing up obese, that was a godsend. I was so happy about that, but I also was bruising like insanely. I lost most of my hair, which is still not fully grown back all the way. It was a hard time. And so even though I was losing all this weight and I felt like my goals were being met, I was like losing my life force. And to go back to eating meat again, it was psychologically like very damaging to me. It was hard, not damaging. It was difficult because I had to work through a lot of the programs that I had put myself in so that I wouldn't eat meat anymore. And coming back, I realized like I was so much less healthy than I thought I was. And we get told, if you have like a beach body, right, you're doing great. But turns out internally, there's so many more things happening. And so
Yes.
I'm very grateful to be living this life. However, I will say I'm eating meat again for the first time, and I'm still learning about my refrigerator because I lived without one for 4 years. So now I'm slowly buying meat, and I'd love to talk to you more about where you're getting your meats from at a later time,
Yeah, happy
because
to. Yeah.
that is my biggest goal. When I decide to eat meat again, I told myself only from like local places. Well, that's not true. I
Hmm.
haven't done that, but I'd like to.
Well, it's hard when you're on the road.
Yeah,
One of the advantages that we have is that we stock up on everything on our way, before we leave. And it's one of the advantages of being three-quarter time.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's true.
we can touch on that. Congratulations on your weight loss. I mean,
Thank
I
you.
recently went through a similar thing. Last May I was fully enjoying my dad bod. Let's put it that way. And
Good for you.
yeah, but then I turned a certain age, and when you turn a certain age, you go to the doctor, and the doctor looks at you and says, "Dude, get it under control." And
Yeah.
so, I went from and I'm still working on it. I still probably got 15 pounds to go. But I went from probably a 42 waist, and I'm down to an honest 36 now.
Nice.
Yeah, so that, and it doesn't, and I applaud, the reason I bring it up is to applaud you now, because it doesn't get easier as you get older,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
It
learning.
gets harder.
I'm learning
Um,
that.
all right, so what do you think, what do you want to achieve with this, right? You're a nomad. Is this your life, or is this a moment of your life?
God, I've been really sitting with that actually. Um, Especially because on this trip I've kind of learned about my body more and like what I can take physically and what I can't. I don't think I'm ever going to live in a house. I don't think I want the four walls thing, but I do think there will come a time. Well, I know I'm going to go in on some land, right? Like,
Hmm.
say what I want and say what I've already said about owning land. I would like to cultivate and to do service to land at some point. And I don't think it's just going to be one spot. I have this feeling like I'm going to find some places on these travels that I'm like, this is a place that I can see myself continuously coming back to, and maybe have, just in the US, like three or four spots that are my spots, small amount of land, enough that maybe I could put one or two Airbnb spots on.
Hmm.
Um, and, I would like to get a little bit more stable, but I just think that, I don't know, I think I'm just going to keep going. I think that living in this bus that I have right now, it's great for right now. I do think that when I probably in the next 10 years, cultivating a family with someone and wanting to be able to provide a space for them, I might upgrade. But I might also keep this bus and just get a new bus. I don't know. I haven't fully decided that yet. But I do know that I love living in tiny spaces. I love living in vehicles specifically because I do like the idea of being able to go if I want to go. And I
Hmm.
think politically right now, not to get too into that, but because I don't know where we're headed as a country, as a people, I don't know yet. I think a lot of me is just kind of holding out to see like what are gas prices going to do in the next 10 years, right? Like what's going to happen cuz diesel right now is already so bad that like that's one of the main factors where I'm like I don't know if I could keep doing this. Financially, I don't know if it's even smart, right? Um but I do have some big goals. In the next 20 years, I would like to go in on some land with a group of people. And I really believe in reform when it comes to how we treat family and also how we treat children. So I would really love to cultivate a foster care system with a group of people that I'm working with right now on that. And so that's one of the plots of land that I know in my mind, like this is the most important thing. It's outside of myself. It's not my music. It's not my art. this is something that I want to do in the next 20 years for the generations to come, because I recognize that the policies that we have in place right now for adoption, foster care, any type of community or village care of children is severely lacking. So that's my biggest goal, and it's a one that I stand by firmly.
So I will say this: when I project an image of the future kind of thing, and I see you, I see a yurt, I see a deck, and I see desert.
I don't
Right
want to
now,
be in the desert.
that's what
I
I
love
see.
it here.
Yeah,
I did not expect that.
the only downside is water,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's funny you bring up the kid thing. The closer that we can get our children, and when back to the earth, the soil, right?
Hmm.
This idea is that, you know, always be clean, don't get dirty. Kids live their best lives when they come in and you're like, nope, step back outside, we're going to hose you down. That means they're living their best life,
Yeah.
right?
They're doing it
And
right.
let them climb a tree, let them dig a hole, let them build an oven, teach them how to start fires properly.
Let them eat dirt. Let
Let them
them
eat dirt.
eat dirt.
That's right.
For real.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's good
I think
stuff.
that we would be better off. Well, it's full of vitamins and minerals and a little bit of
Yeah.
dirt, but
And
but
some
I think
bugs.
society and some bugs. Yeah. Well, the UN has got us all they want all of us to be eating bugs in the next 15 years anyway. So,
I don't know how I feel
uh,
about that, JD. I don't know.
well, so I've had crickets and
So
like
have
cricket
I.
flour. And they're a complete protein. So I mean, if you really think
Yeah.
about it, what's the difference between eating ground up, say, grasshopper and beef? What is the real difference?
Cows are
Cows
really
are cute.
cute. And I'm a recovering vegan, okay?
Well, shouldn't you
I
be
don't know
easier
why I
eating a
feel
grass?
this way. Huh?
So wouldn't it be easier to eat, a grasshopper than a cute cow if you're a recovering vegan?
You would think so, JD. You would really think so. I think it's a bug. And
It's a
something
bug.
in me is like, that's gross. But you're right. No, it is a complete protein, and actually that could probably save the world. Probably
Well, I
could.
mean, it's certain they're easier to harvest and grow. They're not as difficult on the environment as a whole, right?
Man, I worked at Petco for a long time. We were growing crickets out the wazoo.
Well,
We
you got
had
to feed them
we
all to your
had
lizards.
yeah, we had trash bins full of crickets, and you just open the bin and the crickets are like hundreds in there. It was crazy. It was really crazy.
That's.
I do see myself in the desert though. I'm glad that you said that. I have such a love relationship to these rocks.
Hmm.
I
Are you
did
in the Red Rock
not.
area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so stupid beautiful. And I've met people who've come into Asheville, North Carolina, and they get like blown away by the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I love them. Do not get me wrong. I grew up in the Appalachians, but I think that's part of it. I grew up in the Appalachians, so I'm very it's like the mountains themselves. I'm kind of like I'm a little bit more plateaued with it. These ones are so spiky and beautiful and exciting, and I'm obsessed. So I definitely
Well,
think that this is the space.
you also have to remember that where you're at right now, you're
Hmm.
probably 2,000 feet taller than the Appalachians, right? In the Pacific Northwest, our trailheads start above, the Appalachians. They're hills. The Appalachians are hills. They're not mountains. They're hills.
Yeah,
Now, they're
they're
big
very,
hills.
very old mountains which have become hills. But they're
Yes.
also the oldest mountain range, like I think not in the world, but the oldest mountain range, at least in the US.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
That's why they're hills, JD, because over time they've gotten so pushed down. But they're also the Appalachians is the most biodiverse land in the US.
No, that
Um,
doesn't surprise me.
yeah, it's crazy.
I, I,
Also, I want
I've
to show
seen
you
hill people.
something. I want to show you this
Okay.
mural that I just did. It's not done.
Oh, no, I saw you post something about this. That's beautiful.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so
Now, is
that's
it?
fully inspired by the place that I'm at right now.
That's fantastic. Now, is that part of the structure, or is that coming with you?
It's actually a climbing wall for this property.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so for any nomads who want to check out the land beyond Zion, you could come and climb this wall. It's mostly for children, but
Right.
it's pretty large and it's super sweet. It wouldn't fit in my bus, so I'm not going to take it with me.
Fair
It
enough.
wouldn't fit at all.
All right. So, what? Now you make it your rooftop deck. No, don't do that. They don't. We didn't say that. Don't make that a rooftop deck.
That would be so
What's
cool
your most
though.
fulfilling moment right now?
Like since I've
It's a
been
good
out
way
on
to
the
lose your
road,
insurance.
since I've been out on the road.
Yeah, yeah. Since you've been out on the road. Hmm.
Oh, that's hard. Most fulfilling moment. I think there are a couple. Number one, and not in particular order, but one of them would be the moment that Tyler and I drove out from that hairpin turn, and I was
Hmm.
going 10 miles an hour on a 65. That was so fulfilling to me because my check engine light was on. It was freezing outside. I was terrified. There are like so many reasons why that went completely against all of my own boundaries in driving. Like I would never drive with a check engine light on a year ago. Now it's been on the whole time. It never turned off. So, but it's fulfilling because I'm it's that same thing, the challenge that you asked me. I'm challenged by my uncertainty. So every time I face that uncertainty, I feel so proud of myself and like, wow, I can do anything. And then another one, I was at the mechanic for like 2 extra days. I ended up being late to Skooliepalooza, as
Hmm.
you know. It was sad. I was deeply disappointed. And I'm 2 days late. I left as soon as I possibly could, right? But if I had had the chance to leave any sooner, I would have. What's really interesting and funny to me is that when I left, I I'm finally on the highway in Moab and my windows are down and I'm driving through and my name is on the outside of my bus. And
Oh
as
yeah.
I'm driving, I heard somebody scream on the highway, Amelia Doll! And I'm sitting here and I'm worried. I'm starting to sweat because I think my bus is breaking down again. So I'm pissed, right? I'm like, God, I just left the mechanic. How can this happen? And then I get a call from the man who sold me the school bus, Nick. I answered the call and I said, Nick, was that you? And he goes, pull over. What the heck? If I had left at any other point, I would have missed him. But sure enough, the man who sold me the school bus just happened to be on the highway at the very same time as me. And so we pull over, and his girlfriend, who didn't get to say goodbye to the bus, she came and like got to see this bus that she used to live in. And I mean, I haven't seen this man since February. Like, I didn't even know he was going to be out there. That was such like movie magic moment that fulfilled me in a sense where I knew I'm always at the right place at the right time. Even when I think I'm late, I'm not. It's there's something about how time works and how synchronicities are, especially when you're on the road, that it's just you're more open to them. You see them more. And that was a moment. I mean, that was really early into my trip, and to have that moment of validation from the universe, it was like a sigh of relief. You know? Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because a lot of people they would chalk that up to chance, right?
Yeah.
And in a certain way, I would agree. But on the other side of it, where I think, if we're talking about society as a whole, what we forget is that everything's connected.
Oh yeah.
Everything is connected. So while, sure, it was a chance meeting that you came across this individual that you bought the bus from, that doesn't mean it wasn't connected all the way back to that mechanic and why it took 2 days longer for you to be able to leave.
Yep.
And I think that if people were to take a broader view of things like that, they might be happier.
Yeah. I
right?
mean, there's another part to the self-trust too there because I almost stayed at the mechanic actually a little bit longer because when I turn on my car, there's my check engine light still on.
Mhm.
And I was quite frustrated about that. It's literally the simplest thing. It's a glow plug. But I don't like driving like that because then what if something else happens that's bad? So I was like this close to staying in Colorado. And the mechanic himself actually was like, Amelia, you're fine, just go. And that was a moment where like I trusted that everything was going to be okay, and because of that it brought me to this possible coincidence. I would call it synchronicity of right place, right time. And so that's also why it's fulfilling, because any other day it would just be a normal, like, I'm trusting myself and it's fine. But this is my house with a
Mhm.
mechanical nightmare if something were to happen, goodness forbid. So it definitely is like a stronger choice. It takes more strength to do that.
Oh no, definitely. All right, so let's bounce through a little bit of these last minute questions here. What you did talk a bit about what you're hoping to achieve, obviously
Mhm.
with kids, foster system. It's funny. You probably don't remember this, but at one point Hillary Clinton came down, and this is before she was a senator. It was back when she was first lady, and she said it takes a village, and people just mocked her. Now, I am not. I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, but that being said, she's right when it comes to that.
Oh yeah.
It takes a community to properly raise people to be intentional, to care,
Mhm.
empathic, to put others before themselves, to be willing to protect others that aren't even necessarily theirs, right? I mean, there's some
Mhm.
instinctual stuff that happens as like a parent or as a husband or a wife or a partner or whatever, but to be willing to put yourself out there for someone who's not technically yours, but you have an investment in, right?
Mhm.
So I think that I love that that is something that you want to achieve. But as you said, that's 10 years,
Yeah.
right? So where are you hoping life is going to, you're obviously working toward that, but what are the exits? What's exit 57 for you or 73 or whatever through this process? What are some milestones?
So a lot of the before that happens is, it's kind of like when people are waiting to have children because they want to get their career in order. I'm doing a lot of that right now, right? So
Okay.
I don't necessarily see myself birthing a child. But until I get to that point, I really am so very, very focused on my music and also my art. And, the benefit of living on the road also adds to the goal of like, I want as many people to hear my music as possible. I want as many people to discover my art as possible. And so for the next 5 to 10 years, I'm gonna keep traveling and I'm gonna keep sharing it openly. I want my music to be available for free. I want my art to be a service. This mural that I did here at the Land Beyond Zion, I usually charge like thousands of dollars, like $10,000 to $30,000 for my art, for my murals, and this is
Hmm.
free. It's free because this woman who runs this property absolutely deserves it. It's free because it takes a village to support each other in all types of the work that we do. She's still building some of the things out here, and still curating um, more, more available space basically to hang out. And so any service that I can provide with my own hands is like, that's what I want to do. I want to travel many places. And of course, I want to be hired to paint as well.
Sure.
But the act of just giving feels really, really good. And it doesn't take anything from me to do that other than my time, right?
So I would I want to offer you a reframe of that.
Sure.
It's not because it's not free. What
Yeah.
you're doing is it's rule number 3 of Skooliepalooza, which is pay it forward.
Yeah. And that's it. I've been here, JD, I've been here for 10 days. 10 days. That's the longest that I have been stable since, like, in one place since mid-September. And it feels so good to just be in one place. And she's not asked, a lot of me for that. And so anything that I can do to give back as much as possible, I will do that. Especially for the communities that I find that deserve it. And it's not about deserving. Everyone deserves whatever. But there are some communities that absolutely benefit so much from these things. And if I can do something that for me feels kind of like simple, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do
Well,
that.
the great thing about paying it forward is that when you pay it forward to someone who is accepting, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
pay it forward, right? And it
Yep.
just keeps going down the line. Now, on your music, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there any music that you would like to share briefly before we
I would
move
love
on?
to.
Or, okay,
You didn't put
have
me
it
on the
on.
spot. I literally already
All
set up my
right,
gear.
excellent,
Yeah. So we're ready to go.
excellent. All right, well then, you have the stage.
Cool. How many songs would you like?
For time basis, let's do it 2,
Cool.
if
Cool.
that's all right with you.
That's perfect. All right. Actually, I'm going to bring the camera a little bit closer for you. Nice. Okay. All right. All right. Speak softly to these ears. I have been screamed at. I have been under the control of fear. Lay quiet down past this body. On the ground, the earth which swallows us. Oh, swallow me, I'm coming down. Swallow me, I am coming home. Oh, I'm coming home. Sister in skin and bone, our blood is boiling on a washed pot of gold. Sister in spirit, bodies hidden from us, and I don't know you anymore. I don't know you anymore. I don't know you anymore. Ah, 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 ah. Mother, can you hear me now? I'm singing, shrieking out loud. Generations of shackles behind me are clasping hands, released to win. Clasping hands, released to win. May always be open. meant a secret. Every prick of the finger on the rose, that's called a revolution. Collaboration through the pain we make go. Do not fear what you cannot fight. Take the measures to low. Parts of yourself that you can't change, the parts which add up to your soul. That which you came to fully live in this life, that which you came to evolve. Compassion to the oversoul. Compassion to the light. Consciousness seeks to know itself a little too that which way it likes. Consciousness seeks to know itself a little too that which way it likes. Generations of heartache, generations of pain. I'll cut the cord, carve out my own way of spirit, release, learn to sing again. I'll cut the cord, carve out my own way of spirit, release, learn to sing again. You came into this life, you chose this very fight. I chose to live in this body, now the story's mine with which to write. I chose to live in this body, now the story's mine with which to write. I will forge a new gateway, so that this world may be a heaven. Together we hold the keys to that gateway, that starts with the revolution. Together we hold the keys to that gateway, that starts with the revolution. Together we hold to that gateway, that all starts with the revolution. Thank you very much. So that song is on my EP, which I just released. It's on all streaming platforms for free $99. And then if you are a patron of the arts and want to continue to do so, I do have that for purchase on my Bandcamp, which is Amelia Doll. And you can get this swanky CD with my original artwork on it. This song is a favorite of mine as well. It's not on my EP, but it will be on this new album that I'm coming out with in a couple months. It's called Let It Be Love. Let it be simple, let it be clear. We are engaging in sacred energies and sacred energies here. In the lost and found, like the roaring wave, built up from the ground. Oh, let it be simple, let's be brave. Oh, let it be simple, let's be brave. Let it be simple once again. 'Cause the wicked wildness of the primal God is still beckoning you back. The wicked wildness of the primal God is still beckoning you back. backing and backing you back. Oh. Backing you back. So let it be magnetic, oh let it be pure, enthusiastic, heart healing with that presence at the core, and lost and found like the raging flame of lava molten mound. Oh, let it be simple, let's behave. Oh, let it be simple, let's behave. Let it be simple once again. The untamed wildness of the primal God is to beckon and beckon you back. Untamed wildness of the primal God is to beckon and beckon you back. Oh. Beckon you back. Let it stay drifting. Oh, let it be free. We are a flower found in the air, simply floating by a force which moves we cannot see. Lost and found, like the treacherous wind, which whips our wits around. Let it be simple, let's begin again. Oh, let it be simple, let's begin again. Oh, let it be simple once again. Let it be simple once again. Let it stay grounded, because you're safe right here. From the roots we will rise into love, birth, and light, from that very darkness that we fear. From the roots we will rise into love, birth, and light, from that very darkness that we fear. Backing you back. Wicked wildness of the primal goddess to beckon you back. Let it be simple, oh, let it be clear. Let it be love that you let yourself feel. Let it be love once again.
Very nice.
Thank you
Very,
so
very
much.
nice.
An absolute pleasure.
Well, folks, if you're in the Flagstaff area, which includes Phoenix, it's a couple-hour drive, where are you going to be this weekend?
I will be at Hops on Birch.
Hops on Birch in Flagstaff. If you haven't made the trip to Flagstaff recently, you really should. They've got a lot of really cute places. And Amelia, we wish you all the best. Thank you for being on. You're fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you in January as well.
I'm very, very excited. I'm actually cultivating a joint show with Arbor Season and a couple other van lifing musicians. So it's going to be a good Skooliepalooza.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes, but we are very much looking forward to having you and Arbor Season and the others play. And with that, folks, this has been the first ever Skooliepalooza podcast with the great Amelia Dahl, and hopefully we will have her on again. And with that, until next time.